Are you ready for possibly the most epic niche list for the sexiest tobacco fragrances in the game? Well, at least in my collection. I think this is a phenomenal list, honestly. This niche list is next level of sexy tobacco vibes. Let's roll my motherfucking music so I can put you onto 10 of the uber sexiest tobacco fragrances in the niche space. We're all alone. In case you cared, out of all your friends, I want to be Cuba. Blessed morning, my beautiful peoples. You know who it is. It's your boy, C to the U to the B to the A. These are no particular order. What I can tell you is the following. These are absolutely incredibly sexy niche fragrances. They are not inexpensive, but the quality and the beauty in these fragrances are incredible. They are in no particular order, and please just sample them. Don't go out and spend this kind of money. There's thousands on this tape. Don't do that. Just sample the joint, see if it flows with you, if our noses align. Then if you decide to proceed a full bottle, you go that route and shop at the best place that you potentially can. So the first fragrance I'm gonna put you on to, I think, is one of the most uber masculine tobacco and gunpowder fragrances in the game. And that's by the House of Xerjoff, and that's the Don.
I die with you, darling.
Mineral gunpowder tobacco. Incredible, and still somehow keeps an element of freshness, which I still can't understand. I personally have not encountered anybody who's actually smelled this fragrance and said, ah, it's trash. Everybody who's tried it, especially people who tried it based on the recommendations from my previous videos, have said, yo, this is actually a super incredible fragrance. It's not a very complicated fragrance, but what it does correctly. It's sweet, slightly fresh, gunpowdery, and tobacco. You can't beat this motherfucker. It's incredible. Next one. This next one made a splash when it came out. This little indie niche house came out of nowhere with guns blazing with this particular fragrance, and that's Argos Triumph of Bacchus. Gorgeous presentation, beautiful glassware, heavy duty bottle, gorgeous color liquid, but who cares? You got an incredibly sweet, fruity, boozy tobacco fragrance in here that is incredible, performs beautifully, is outstanding off the skin, especially in some brisk weather. Stellar. With notes of sandalwood, tobacco, amber, green apple, and rum. This is an incredible piece of artistry off of your skin. Very date night appropriate, very sexy, very versatile, but personally, I think it shines in brisker weather and brisker temperatures. So Triumph of Bacchus by Argos, fire leather. Next one. I'm not gonna say much about this fragrance. This is one of the very few, and I mean very few, fragrances in my collection that my wife loves, not likes, loves. This is up there with her top 3 favorite in the lineup, and it's actually one of the most unique fragrances that might be slightly polarizing. I mean, to be honest with you, the majority of the people appreciate this fragrance. It is a little bit challenging to others who aren't in that perfumery space. And that's by Serge Lutens, and that's Chergy. Look at the color of this liquid, barely transparent. This shit looks like it's been fermenting for years now to cultivate this prominent tobacco and hayish kind of vibe that this fragrance comes off. Yes, that may sound a little peculiar, to say the least, but it's the artistry and the magic that happens once it hits that pH levels. Those pores open up and it starts dissipating that beautiful odor of just dried up tobacco leaf. Just makes you want to smoke a cigar, sit down in a hammock, rock back and forth, play a guitar, and just politic on the beauties of life in the middle of nowhere. For me, Chergy is a legendary fall staple in my collection. Powdery nuances, again, tobacco, slight booze, and that hayish notes, that wheat hay barrel kind of vibe that this fragrance has. It's absolutely beautiful, an incredible tobacco fragrance in the niche space that isn't too much money but performs outstanding. Next one. And now I'm gonna put you on to an ever popular beast in the Parfums de Marly lineup, their tobacco staple, and that's Harrod. To me, Harrod has always been a must cop. Like, if you like the line of Parfums de Marly and you just like a beautiful, sexy, incredible snuggle factor leather, Harrod has to be up there. I mean, it's an incredible fragrance. One of the first Parfums de Marly, no, correction, the first parfums de Marley I've ever gotten in my stash, and it still performs outstanding. And I feel like the longer it sits in a properly cool temperature room and just macerates a little longer, gets better and better. It's an incredible fragrance. It's tobacco, it's booze, it's vanilla, it's cinnamon, it's spicy with a real rich woody base. Sample it please, or just buy it. I mean, I'm not gonna recommend, I don't wanna recommend blind buys on this list because these are super expensive and I don't like y'all wasting heavy bread without trying some shit out. But if our noses align, I'm gonna tell you, you don't have to believe me. You can watch other content creators speak about Harrod, but this is next one. This is a unique boozy tobacco fragrance that also has a polarizing factor. There's people who absolutely bow down to this scent profile, and there's others that are just like, I don't get it. It took me a while to really appreciate this fragrance because it had a big cola vibe, like a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola vibe that came off on this fragrance that I didn't know how I felt. But it was really a first impressions type vibe because I just didn't give it any opportunity, any chance for it to just settle on the skin. And it just so happened that one day I was just rocking it out. I was like, fuck it, let me put this shit on some like set it and forget it. And I started to really like wonder who smelled like that. Like I was in a nice group and I was like, is that me? It can't be me. And it completely was. So I went from being on the, I don't know about this joint to, yeah, Roja's Creation E is definitely one of those crazy ass fragrances. One you 100% must sample. Do not go out and blind buy this fragrance. It might have that same type of reaction that it did with me initially, that it's kind of like, I don't know. It's a lot of naturals and a lot of aggressive tobacco and boozy notes, but there's this harsh, musky, cola-ish vibe in here that is a little bit confusing. But like everything else in life, you have to give it a chance, you have to give it opportunity, you gotta let it do what it does and see if this shit really rocks with your pH levels. That's really all it's about. Performance, you're gonna have no problems with this shit, which can be a pro and a con. Because if it's a fragrance that you don't like and it performs incredible, you're just gonna have that shit lingering all around you all day and you're just gonna be real pissed. So sample this joint because I think it's an absolutely beautifully composed leather fragrance in the niche space. Top dollar, but incredible quality too. Next one. This next one, I made a video saying that it most likely, in my opinion, is one of the best tobacco fragrances of 2022. It even won awards in Scent Explorer, etc, etc. And forget Scent Explorer. Everywhere else, everybody has complimented. Ja rocks it, Wizzy rock, my wife everybody likes this joint. And of course, it's made by my new BFF, Cecile Z, and that's Amouage's Royal Tobacco. Jesus Christ. It's an experience to say the least on this fragrance. Oh my God. Just let me marinate in this shit in a moment like a roasted pig prior to the holiday. Chocolate, tobacco, smoky, sexy, edible, damn near gourmand, spiritual. I feel it down my coccyx right now. It's spinal right now, the energy that I'm feeling from this fragrance. It's, yeah, I don't even know what to say about this. I said I'm not gonna tell people to blind buy it. It's selling out like everywhere. This shit is going. Man. Royal Tobacco by Amouage. Home run. Next one. Oh my God, I'm smelling it all over me. Oh, it's so good. And speaking of smoky goodness in the tobacco space, Nishane's Fan Your Flames, fam, are flames. Completely different notes from everything else on this table because this joint is utilizing coconut, rum, tobacco. We got sweet, milky, kind of, but it's more like the coconut rind, like the shell, like the inner workings of that coconut rind, and this beautiful smoky booze that comes out of this fragrance. It smells like smoky fire, like in the Caribbean. This shit is sick. I mean, it's one of the most phenomenal joints in the Nishane lineup. More and more you smell this joint, the more you appreciate it and truly enjoy the capabilities and the performance and the sex appeal and the unique factor that this fragrance presents. Eloquent, sexy, tropical, smoky, and super tobacco. Next one. Now in the mass appeal space, this fragrance is not expensive, might be maybe the cheapest in this entire lineup next to Chergy, but this performs, well, this whole house performs incredible, very easy to wear fragrance, and that's Mancera's Red Tobacco. Red Tobacco is super fire, very sexy, awesome for a date night, but the performance on this joint is beautiful off of my skin. I get bare minimum 10 hours, and most of Mancera fragrances keep that same type of energy. Power, performance is the name of the game. This is kind of like a beautiful entry point into the tobacco space. Very wearable, sweet. Been a while since I smelled this joint. Got a nice, unique spiciness, beautiful tobacco, definitely smoky. It's got a boozy aspect. I think there's some sort of fruit in here. I don't know if it's like pear, apple, or something in that space. What really happens on this, on the dry down, it actually just comes down to a couple of things. Sweet, woody, ambery tobacco fragrance. That's how it lays down on the skin, and the sweetness kind of layers on top to kind of just grasp you and pull you in. And then when you smell and get used to that depth, you start to get the other nuances of this fragrance. Very affordable for a niche fragrance that performs as well, and with a beautiful scent profile that many can enjoy. Next one. Honey, tobacco, and cherry. Kilian's Back to Black. Another fragrance that has a very unique opening that could be a little crazy. That cherry smells a little rough on the opening. It is a little rough. It's the dry down. This fragrance is all about the dry down. This can be something that you're gonna judge the book by the cover if you just read the first 2 pages. That honey cherry opening is a little difficult. Fragrances that start with a honey opening tend to be a little rough around the edges, kind of like smelling like raw natural honey. Yes, it smells sweet, but there's also this very unique darkness and molassesy kind of smell. It's a little bit sticky smelling, and the cherry, not being a maraschino, kind of just like a regular red cherry with some bitterness, kind of comes off a little awkward, but let it do its thing. Don't judge it by first impressions, how I generally do. Actually, let it do what it has to do on your skin and allow it some time to really develop. The honey stays throughout the fragrance, but then that tobacco starts coming up with some beautiful density and some balancing factors on the base, like some woody, some white florals, there's light spices, and it becomes a gorgeous, very sexy, dark, ominous type fragrance, kind of like in the space of Black Phantom, but still has that sticky component to it with that smoky leather vibe. It's like a beautifully smoked tobacco with a very elegant honey-esque honeysuckle type cocktail. Very Soho chic. Last and certainly not least, staying in that vanillic ambery tobacco space, Daniel Josiel Ambre Tabac. Ambre Tabac is a gentleman's tobacco fragrance. Not a lot of complicated factors in this, but it's so eloquently simple yet beautiful. It has a lot of dimension and body to this particular fragrance. It's not linear or boring in any space. It has its dimensions, although it's simplistic with something just like patchouli, vanilla, amber, and tobacco. There is a bit of a freshness there from like some bergamot-ish type vibe, but really is nothing more than a gentleman's gentleman tobacco fragrance. Very corporate, very Wall Street, very money manager, very banker type vibe. Beautifully pressed bespoke suit, freshly polished shoes, hairs to the nines, beard is always tight. If he doesn't have a beard, he's completely fresh shaven, tight like a tiger. Maybe a little Botox on the weekend, who knows, but this is like the man's man, and definitely his significant other slash girlfriend slash wife is about 25 years younger. This is a phenomenal tobacco list in the niche space. I want to say that all these joints are absolute ball sprayers, panty droppers, coochie wetters, titty sweaters, ooh-wees, but very expensive. Definitely sample the ones that may particularly intrigue you. You can also look up other content creators' information or Google some shit, but these are absolutely all stellar. Stellar. It's one of my favorite words, is fucking stellar. These niche fragrances are stellar. I love y'all motherfuckers from the heart, and I'll see y'all bitches next time. You let me know what's your favorite niche tobacco fragrance, and I'll see y'all bitches next time. You know what is biggest in the game? Smooches.
Cubaknow, what's fresh, who's best? One of them's gonna pass the test. Cubaknow.
For the fly gun holder, money folder, molar roller, start tag when it's time to call back. For the rough, rugged, and raw way, this nigga Jay, it's a game, but he don't play. Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's nonsense you never get in. It's nonsense that you would think that you would.